Hello and welcome to week 1 and 2 of financial accounting. I think about everybody's been on so far, so it's time to start working on our assignments. If you're still catching up from week 1, I understand it's kind of hard to get into a groove. Maybe you're not quite sure what is required with an online course. That's understandable as well. So I'm going to go through how the course is set up and how I recommend that you go about trying to figure out the setup of the course. So in the home, I'm sharing my screen with you. In home, you will find week 1, 2, 3 through 6. There are also breakdowns of all of this, but I recommend, so you don't miss anything, is to use these tabs or buttons for each week, and this will take you directly to it. In week 1, make sure that you have done the plagiarism pledge, and also that you have done your introductions and expectations. Introduce yourself so your classmates can read this in a discussion board, and also give what you're wanting to learn, why you're here, all that good stuff, so that we know who's who and gives us a little bit of insight. It's also a good way to make connections with people so you feel a little bit more comfortable sharing your thoughts, opinions, etc. Then you just go write down this list. In week 1, you had 2 discussions and 2 applies. For this course, there is no textbook, but there are very important content-heavy slideshows in all of these units, these modules. So there are 2 chapters or PowerPoints for you to go through. This alleviates you from having to read number heavy laden courses or content, because with accounting, it's more seeing and doing. And I like these PowerPoints because obviously once you get past all the learning objectives, it gives you definitions that you need to know. And further down, it will do, I'm gonna keep clicking through here. It's actually going to give you formulas and the mathematics portion. And then it will also give you, I was clicking through chapter 2, and it will give you like stop and apply. So now check yourself on a little piece of paper, jot down your answers, and it will give you the solutions to see if you're doing things correctly. It also has great excerpts and figures for you to see how to set things up. I'm a visual learner. I'm also an audio learner. If I read a textbook, it kind of goes in my brain and out my, in my eyes and out my brain so quickly that I don't actually understand what I'm reading, and you kind of get tired and it just doesn't work as well. So what I do is I also go out and I try and find videos that will help you, particularly with the assignments, the discussions, and the apply assignments. So this chapter 2, analyzing transactions, will help you tremendously with apply 1.2. It will show you how things increase and decrease with accounts as you have transactions in your business. So for assignment 1.2, go back and listen to this video, watch this video for help. Also, in one of your discussions, it talks about business structures. There wasn't a ton of business structure talk in the text PowerPoint, so I added this video on here for you to have more information about this. So if I felt that there wasn't enough in the PowerPoints, I've tried to add in these extra sets of information. So these are also kind of out of order because it says required reading and it has these 3 things here. But technically, these PowerPoints is what your assignments are going to be based on. This is the content that you need to know. So make sure that you go through thoroughly these PowerPoint presentations. And if you need to, download them and print them off in notes versions. Okay, so you can go back and look at those whenever you are working on your assignments. I think you can do that by entering full screen. And I think you can save as. It says a web page. If you want, I'm going to look into that a little bit more because you should be able to open it in Google Slides. There. Hey, there we go. So you just open it in Google Slides. Give it a second. So I clicked down here at the bottom. It said Google Slides. And here it is now. It's opening up. It should be in your recent presentations. You just click on that. And if you're not familiar with Google Slides, you go to File. And my screen looks a little bit big. I'm going to reset that. You go to File, and there is a you're going to want to go to Page Setup. Sorry, you're going to want to go to Print Settings and Preview. There we go. And to print these, I would do like handouts with 4 slides per page. And you do that because otherwise it'd be like 95 pages, and I don't think you want to do that. It's going really slow right here, but this would all show. You could download it as a PDF to your computer, or you can print this very easily. Try that again. I didn't like it the first time. This should work for you though. I think it's because I'm sharing my screen. It's not letting me. All right. Back. So again, I cannot say it enough. These are the content. This is the textbook. These presentations is what you need to answer the questions, do the transactions. And then I've put in these required, these are Investopedia. Investopedia is full of information. There will be links to Investopedia on about every single assignment. This is a really great PDF that will help you with Apply 1.2 as well. It's a PDF talking about debits and credits. It's kind of a cheat sheet, and it will help you with that double entry that you need to do to go through this, and it will explain how each of the transactions will offset one another with debits and credits. Excuse me. So once you go through all the content, hit next. This way you know that you're not missing anything. There will be typically 1 to 2 discussions each week. These are due your initial discussion by Thursday at midnight. Why on Thursday? Our class doesn't end until Sunday. I don't do my homework until Sunday evening, Mrs. Leatherman. You will get deducted points if you do not post by Thursday at midnight. The reason for this is because some of your peers, they will work ahead of time. They don't, maybe they work at their job on the weekends, so they do their homework during the week. And it's required for you to involve yourself in the discussion. You need to have at least 2 posts on every discussion. So you're going to do your initial post. What is your response? And then you need to post 2 other times. So there'll be 3 posts on every single discussion in the course, okay? These prompts are typically going to be about ethics. Very few are going to contain anything about numbers. So if you're starting to find yourself calculating a lot of stuff, you're probably on the wrong, probably looking at it the wrong way. These are going to be more ethical, more application type prompts. Do that one. Once you complete your initial response, you'll be able to see your peers. That's when you need to go back and on at least 2 different dates, and they are date stamped. So I use that when I am trying to grade as well with the rubric, and I will look back and see how often and when you did do your posts for your grade. I'm going to show you what I go on. On the syllabus, there is a rubric for your discussion topics. And it's probably quite a ways down because this is a really long syllabus. Okay, so here's what I'm looking for with your discussions. Here's assignments. Here we go. So as I mentioned, your initial posts, If it was by Thursday, you're going to get all of your points. If you are following up and your responses are elaborating, you are engaging with your peers, you'll get all of your points. The content obviously needs to match what we've learned. Then you'll get all of your points. I look for mechanics. Now, am I going to go through and proofread all of these? Absolutely not. But if I can understand them, you're using grammar, punctuation properly, you'll get all of your points. If you only post once, you're going to have post the items decreased. 2 different days, you'll get your points. 3 or more different days, you'll get your points. If everything was on Sunday night, you'll be getting 1 to 4 points on that. So this is your rubric that I go by. It pops up when I'm grading, and this is what you will see in the grade book after I'm done with the grading of that. So when you're done with that, you'll have a second one. Click next. Okay, this one is explaining how an error was made and how it was fixed. And I don't like to do a lot of these types of activities with the applies because it's hard. Some of them, it's not as important as learning how to do the transactions. So that's why you'll find those types of questions on the discussion topics. Okay, apply 1.1. There were 2 sections of this. That was due by midnight on Sunday. I think almost everybody got that turned in and did a really great job on that. I have those graded if you have done them. If you do not see a grade, there was an issue. I will also, there's a button when I'm grading that it says reassign. So in your grade book, it may not look the same because I have sent it back to you. Essentially, I've unsubmitted it because there is either an error, maybe your document didn't link correctly, I couldn't open it, something like that. Okay, 1.2. This one was starting to get a little bit more difficult for people. I just kind of want to go back and look at it. There were multiple transactions, and transactions need to go in chronological order. So the first documented transaction should be a deposit slip for January 4th, $5,000 accompanying documentation for opening the account in the business. This is an investment, the very first investment. The bank gave him money to start working as his towing business. So there are 2 transactions to every single, there are 2 actions or reactions to every transaction. So in this case, our cash increased and our capital increased, our owner's equity increased. So what I wanted you to do is to use this equation template. And if you don't use Excel, you can use Google Sheets. That's fine with me as well. And what you would do with this is your cash would, need to enable my editing. Your cash would increase because we're receiving the cash from the bank, and our capital is going to increase. Remember, your assets need to equal your liabilities plus your owner's equity. So remember that as you were going through these transactions, do the left side and the right side of my accounting equation still match. After transaction 1, I have an increase of 5,000 and an increase of owner's equity. Assets equal liabilities plus owner's equity. 5,000 plus 0 is 5,000. Bam, it works. So this is an investment. Okay, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a description. All right, now you go back. Wrong one. And it's going to have us do, I'm looking through the dates here. So we're going to have a January 31st, February 31st, March 31st, because those are our deposit slips. We had a bill on February 8th, so we'll want to remember that when we get down here. And then we know how much supplies were left in the supply closet at the end of March as well. Okay, so what we're going to do here is now we're going to use the January 5th, And we bought supplies for $200 from Office Warehouse. So what's going to happen there is we are going to just put our date in 1/5, and you can use whatever you need here. So our cash is going to decrease by 200, but our supplies are going to increase. And now I need to determine, we purchase supplies. And it's not a supplies expense because we haven't used them. Expenses are only when you consume things. So we're going to have a postage. We're going to consume those stamps. That's an expense. Your expenses will affect your owner's equity, your cash and your owner's equity. If you're buying things to just put them in your office, that would be an asset. So does my owner's equity plus liabilities equal my assets still? Yes, because these offset one another. So my assets and my liabilities and owner's equity still match. Then when you get done, you're going to total all of your assets, all of your liabilities, all of your assets for cash, assets of supplies, assets of prepaid insurance. You're going to add those together. That is your total assets. Then you're going to add your column of liabilities. Then you're going to add your owner's equity column. Then you're going to add your liabilities and owner's equity together. Assets should equal your liabilities plus owner's equity. We always have to make sure that our accounting equation is in balance. Okay, so you're going to just continue on. Every transaction should have 2 reactions. Both of those reactions should keep your assets and liabilities, owner's equity in balance, your accounting equation. So some of you had turned those in. Those of you who have turned them in, I've returned them to you for you to relook at. Make sure that all of your dates are in chronological order. With Excel or Google Sheets, if you miss one and you right-click on your rows, there's an insert button and you can insert another row to add a transaction in there. So you don't have to retype everything, okay? Right-click on your row numbers, hit insert, and it will insert above the previous transaction for you. All right, so once you get done with that assignment, you can turn it in. Now, format requirements. Some of these are that's kind of a canned rubric for these formatting and stuff like that. I am not looking for a paper on this assignment. It's technically just a fill in the blank assignment. Accounting's weird like that. And I feel that in other classes, I've redone this course because it was all like written assignments. How are you going to learn accounting? There's some math included. How are you going to learn that without doing the calculations, without figuring that accounting equation? So some of these assignments disregard the formatting requirements because obviously you're not writing anything. You're just filling the worksheet out. Okay, so then we go over to week 2. It gives you the overview and to-do list. What I recommend is I would print this out. Okay, I would print this out and I would mark off as you get things done. Okay, let's just flip through these as well. See if you have any questions. Again, we have one presentation because this is a chocked full chapter for you to learn. And this is priority to learn, okay? If you don't learn anything in accounting, learn chapters 1, 2, and 3 with these slides, okay? So week 1, week 2 slides, you have got to know this. If you're going to go into any other accounting classes ever. Then I have, these are not an hour long. It does say learn accounting in an hour. That's not what it is. They're just excerpts from this series. So this is going to be posting entries and journal entries. You will be journaling entries in your apply assignments. So this is a great way to visually see somebody doing this on paper. On the internet, I also have Investopedia, and recording processes illustrated. This is Clip Notes. I mean, this is great stuff. I use this all the time when I went to college. And this shows you exactly what you should be doing, setting up your journal entries. The first apply assignment that you're going to do, you're going to be doing just like snippets of the journal, but typically your journal is like a big long list of items. So with this, you're going to look at the format, okay? You have your date on here. You're going to have your debit account, and it always goes first. It always goes on the first line. At this point in time, you're going to disregard your reference because that's for further work, okay? Then you're going to put your amount in the debit column. Notice how we have a indentation and indentation for your credit account. This shows it's a very good visual for users to be able to see what is a debit and what is a credit line, because sometimes you'll have multiple account journaling transactions. Okay, then you'll have an explanation of what it was. So what we are doing is we're taking what we did with those transactions in week 1, and now we're actually using a formal journal format that accountants use in business. And there are several transactions here. Now you can see what it looks like when you have multiple transactions in a general journal. See how this is our previous one. It's in the gray, it's in the shaded area. The second one is on April 2nd. We have vehicles that we paid, and now we have cash and notes payable. We decreased with cash, we made a down payment, and then we put the rest in our notes payable to pay later. So this is a multiple account transaction. And then you keep going on these journals. It's kind of hard with when you're teaching, you can see this little ripped area that shows that there's items above it. Okay, so just keep in mind that this is a running journal, multiple pages, hundreds of pages for some of these larger companies. So these Cliff Notes that are these internet, they are like spot on when it comes to helping you with these illustrations. You are going to have discussion topics about how to fix accounting errors, what is an accounting error, and how to correct those entries. Again, we're back to those Cliff Notes. Okay, so all of the content that is in these topics build on each other. There will be some that cross-reference one another, but again, those presentations, this is the content that you need to know. So you're going to have 2 discussions in week 2. You're going to have how to correct an accounting error. You're going to have another ethics question on what you should do if your boss asks you to do something unethical. Then you're going to have an assignment. So again, this is a worksheet. This is not a written assignment. You're not going to write a report. You're going to use the worksheet template that I've given you. It's going to be a download. Uh-oh. Yeah. There we go. So I'm going to give you the different accounts that you're going to be able to use. So this is kind of like a matching project. Okay, these are the only accounts that you're going to be using. Cash, accounts receivable, these are going to be your assets. Then you've got your liabilities, you've got your capital, then you have your expenses and revenues. I've given you an example of a transaction then. So this one's already done for you. This is an example. First, you're going to, in this table, tell me which 2 accounts you're going to use. Then, is it going to increase or decrease? And you're going to tell me if it's going to be on the normal balance side of a debit or credit. Remember, a debit doesn't mean that it's going to always be an increase, right? Because we can decrease our cash, but the debit could be cash. The credit is going to be on that right side of that T account. So debit's on the left, credit's on the right. That's it. Debit does not mean plus or minus. Credit does not mean plus or minus. Debit on the left, credit on the right. That's it. So then we have established which 2 accounts. We establish if they're going to increase or decrease, and we establish which one's debit and which one's credit. You have to have one of each at least. So then you go down to the cutaway of the journal and you journalize it. So you put the date in. The debit goes first, $6,000, and then you indent your credit account and it goes on the credit side. This helps accountants realize that their debits and credits are going to match. Debit on the left, credit on the right. That's all that it means. And it's hard for adults who are learning accounting for the very first time, because in our head, a credit account, a credit card, we keep adding stuff to it. And a debit card, we decrease our checking account. Banking and accounting don't get along when it talks about cards, okay? Because they just don't make sense. So debit's on the left, credit's on the right. That's it. So then you're going to do some entries on your own. Again, you're going to tell me with Janice, she wrote a check to City Properties for the month's rent. There's 2 accounts there. What accounts were affected? You have to use these accounts that were up here in this table. You list the 2 accounts. Do they increase or decrease each one? Which one's debit, which one's credit? And then journalize them. And that's it. That one's pretty easy. So then your second assignment, apply assignment, I should say, is another worksheet. And this time you're going to actually journalize and post. So I have created here a list of transactions. So I'm giving you baby steps here. The first apply 2.1 were cutaways, okay? They were cutaways, so you could just practice that one transaction at a time. Now what I've done is I've given you multiple transactions to do, and you need to then list them on a full running general journal, okay? These are not cutaways. You will skip a line in between each transaction. Each transaction will have 2 accounts at least. I think all of them only had 2 accounts. I'm really pretty sure. I don't think we had any split accounts. Then you're going to do nothing in the post reference. The post reference is when we start posting right now, okay? Then you're not going to tell me plus or minus, you're just going to tell me debit or credit. So you'll have your date, 2 accounts, 1 debit, 1 credit. Then you're going to go below here and you're going to start posting. Now, if you haven't gone through the chapter PowerPoint, you may not know what posting means. But what it is you are going to take these general journals, these transactions, and you're going to put the debit line. So let's say paid on account to Calvin Company. So our cash is going to decrease. I'm going to go down to cash and I'm going to post on the cash and I'm going to tell it what check reference it was. And it was going to be a credit. And then I'm going to update my balance. And then I'm going to post reference 110. That's what that post reference is for. This will all make more sense to you after you look at the assignment. Come back later if this isn't making sense to you right now. Come back later. It probably will after you go through the PowerPoint. There's 3 parts to this though. This is kind of a hefty assignment. It's going to take you a little bit of time. So you're going to journalize all of your transactions. At the end of the month, we post our journal entries into the general ledger. After you have posted all of your general ledger items, then you're going to do a trial balance. There are 3 lines at the top. Do not forget to put your heading. That is the company name, trial balance, and date. You're going to list the account names and what their final balance in the general ledger for your trial balance. This is what we do at the end of the month to accumulate all of those expenses, revenues, all of our accounts and what balance they have. Because later on, we've got to close some of those. We have to adjust for depreciation and supplies. So we have a lot of, we're just right in the beginning of the cycle of accounting. It gets really lengthy. We only have 6 weeks to do this. So I have quite a bit going on here. I've really tried to break it up into sections for you to try and figure this out so that you are not having a lot of redundancy, but you're understanding this accounting cycle. Okay, that's very, very important. Understand the accounting cycle. So are you going to be able to use week 1 information and forget it? Absolutely not. These are building blocks. Accounting is a building block. You're going to have 6 weeks of building blocks because that's going to be the entire accounting cycle. I normally teach this in a whole year. Okay, we're talking 36 weeks. So we're moving fast. And I really, really, really need you to focus on those PowerPoint presentations. Go over the information that I've given you. I have taken classes and thought, hey, I don't need to read all that stuff. I don't need to watch all of those, but you're going to have to. It's going to be very difficult if you do not. Okay, so if you have gotten this far, kudos to you. I hope this has been helpful. Watch your time management with this course. Make sure that you are posting your discussion initial post by Thursday evenings or Thursday at midnight. Go back at least 2 other times, 2 different dates to post on your peers' information as well. I want there to be running discussions with that. That's what I look for, engagement, not just a, hey, good job, keep up the nice work. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not going to get you your grade. Get you a good calculator. You may need to get a printer or be able to go to a library that allows printing because some of this will be easier to do on paper. If it works better for you to do it on paper, print it out, scan it, put it back in. If you have good handwriting, I don't care. You can do that. So if you're not an Excel person or a Google Sheets person or the fill in the blank with computer stuff, print it off. I don't care. My kids in my traditional classes, they write all of this stuff out. We have a lot of paper in this class. So if that helps you, do it. I will accept handwritten assignments as well. Okay. So every time I have a Zoom meeting, I will give extra credit and I will post that at the end of the modules when I do posting grades. The way to get that is that you need to message me in our classroom inbox, and it's going to be a little code that I give you. The code for this module is going to be the accounting cycle. The accounting cycle will start from last week in week 1 to week 6 at the end. It is a building blocks of accounting, and that's what you need to know. If you're going into business or going to further into accounting, you have to know these building blocks. So the code word this week is going to be accounting cycle. All right, everybody, do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. I'm here for you. I will respond as quickly as I can. I do get notifications on my phone. Sometimes they go to notifications and not like right up in the banner, but I check in pretty much every day as well on the message board. So I hope you enjoy this. I really do. It can get stressful, but again, time management is key. So good luck. Have a great week, and I will hear from you when I hear from you.